Saturday Social, brought to you by EA Sports FC with PlayStation 5.
Welcome back to Saturday Social, where we are joined by Dougie, Fuad and JaackMaate. Right, Joe, yesterday we saw Phil Foden crowned the Football Writers Player of the Year. What a season he's had, by the way. And it got us thinking about some of the best players in the Premier League, because there have been a lot of standout performances this season.
Yeah, absolutely. Lots of Player of the Season chat. So what we're going to go and do today is we're going to select the Player of the Season for each Premier League club. So our guests have all got suggestions. We'll go through each club, lift up the magnet, place it on the board, depending on who wins the argument. Yeah. If there's a majority, we'll go with that. If not, we'll select it based on the best argument.
Yeah, quite easy for us to stay with three guests, so hopefully majority rules. Only one name can go next to each crest. We'll start in alphabetical order with Arsenal. So who do you all think has been Arsenal's Player of the Season? Dougie's gone with Declan Rice, Martin Odegaard, Fuad, and Jack very confidently gone with Declan Rice. Now, I know that you want to have a word with the Arsenal fans, don't you, about the sudden emergence of Declan Rice, because you've been saying this for years, haven't you?
Yeah, I think we were having a chat earlier on, but why do Arsenal fans think they've discovered fire? Like, West Ham fans have been singing this man's praises for years. Yeah. He was doing it for England, and I think just this season, like, he'll be the difference. If they go on to win the title, he is the difference. He's just absolutely unreal, and I think he was our best player in the Euro final as well before he got taken off, weirdly.
OK, you agree?
You agree, Dukes?
I did agree. I think Odegaard's a good shout as well, particularly in the last couple of months. I think he's been brilliant, but maybe didn't start as well as Declan Rice. I don't think Declan Rice has really put a foot wrong. No. You know, I think only Saka, Odegaard and Havertz have been involved in more goals, and he's played a lot of his time as a number 6, as a defensive midfielder. Also takes set pieces since about November time.
Crucial.
And they've scored 20 from set pieces. I think only 3 sides in the last 10 years have scored more from set pieces. So I think he's been vital across the park.
Why did he not take any for West Ham? Because I see him getting assist after assist at the corners, and it's like, why just
that in-swinging delivery from the left?
Jack, he's left West Ham. Let it go.
I'll choose him then.
Why Martin Odegaard? Obviously, we know he's had a top season, but ahead of Declan Rice for you?
I think Declan Rice is almost like the new shiny toy syndrome is a little bit there. I think with Odegaard, in terms of stepping up in the big games, I really feel like he's been the guy to almost guide them, especially in the Champions League. I feel like he's been the man who's really stepped up. So for me personally, I think in terms of leadership, he's been really stepping up as captain this season for me, and I think creatively what he's been bringing, as you said, the past couple of months, some of the passes I've been seeing, I'm like, I didn't even know he had that in his locker, and I knew his passing was top notch, but yeah, he's looked a different class.
You say big games though. I think Rice scored a last-minute winner against Man United. I think he's
and Luton.
Big game. The celebrations would say so.
No, I agree.
Big moment.
It was to be fair.
I wouldn't even be mad at that. I'm not.
They're both both top players, as you say, though. 2v1, so Declan Rice takes it. If you want to stick it on, and we'll reveal who you've got for Aston Villa.
Imagine this one is a unanimous one.
This one is a tap-in.
Ollie Watkins.
Absolute tap-in, right? 27 goals, 12 assists this season. We know, I mean, we all thought you'd pick Ollie Watkins, let's be fair, but is he in contention for the season? I mean, we know he's had a great season, but should he be up there with the Fodens of the world in terms of the best players in the Premier League?
100% in terms of the goals he scored, the variety of goals he scored as well, the consistency, I think the assist, the hold-up, the link-up play. Like, there's nothing he hasn't done this season, in my opinion. And even when he's been picked for England, he's chipped in there as well. But I think, honestly, one of the most improved players, and you've seen it since he's been in the Premier League year on year. I almost used to look at him as like a Englishman Zukic, if you like. Left big forward who can kind of drift out wide into the channels, but he's added a lot more to his game over the past year or so.
Yeah, easy one for you.
Yeah, I know. You know what people used to say about Harry Kane, like, oh, he's a one-season wonder, and then he does it again, and then he does it again. I think we're going to see this with Ollie Watkins. Like people were saying last year, like, is he going to fizzle out? He's smashed it. He's done even better this season. I think it's only going to continue to go that way.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, when he broke for Exeter City, he was playing as like a centre mid, and then at Brentford he was almost a winger, wasn't he? And then he's turned into a striker. Like his adaptability, I think he's the most goal involvements of any player in an Aston Villa Premier League season.
Yeah,
it's just astonishing.
Crazy. Yeah, sensational. And yeah, as you say, the thing he was criticised for was not that killer instinct in front of goal. Yeah. He's now got that. I think only Kane, Mbappe and Openda have been involved in more goals in Europe. I think he's been sensational. His injury record as well, because they don't really trust John Duran in the Premier League. I think he's played every single game so far.
No pens either. No pens.
Yeah. They keep having this debate at the moment, him or Tony. For me, that's not even a debate. It's Watkins all day long. Yeah.
Okay, let's get him up.
Stick him up then. Next up, Bournemouth. And I think, once again, you've all gone with
Solanke.
Dominic Solanke. Fuad.
Similarly, like Ollie Watkins, someone who's been reliable all season long, and I think you saw him, for example, the game against United, what he's kind of capable of. I think his hold-up and link-up play. He's unfortunate that I think he's in a Harry Kane, Ollie Watkins, Ivan Toney. There's so many other players where I don't think he'll really get selected for the Euros.
You don't think he goes?
I don't think he will.
Even with the 26-man squad, expanded squads now.
I still think Watkins and Kane have a shoe in there, and I think with Rashford there, I think he's maybe going to be the third option. But it'll be harsh for him because I think he deserves it for sure.
20 goals this season, 5th top Premier League scorer with 18 goals. How much credit does he deserve when he's doing that? No disrespect to Bournemouth because they're having a great season, but those numbers are probably above what even he expected this season.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's scored more goals in the league than Salah. More goals than Son, more goals than Bowen, and yeah, no one really expected this. No one really expected this from Bournemouth. They had a terrible start. They did, and also he's come back from real disappointments in the past as well. He was a Chelsea wonder kid in the academy, never really got a look in there. I think he made 1 appearance, 1 goal in 27 for Liverpool, and now the main man at Bournemouth. And I think he's been sensational and a really good all-round game as well.
Stick him up.
Get him up. Next up, bit of debate here, I think, at Brentford.
Yeah. I found Brentford quite difficult, to be honest.
Good debate, this, actually.
2 Wissers play 1 Mbermo.
Yeah, and Burma's missed a lot of games as well. To be honest, I was happy with Worcester too. It was a sort of toss-up between them. Brentford, sorry, have had a difficult season with injuries in particular, like not having Hickey, not having Henry available. Ben Mees missed a lot of games. Tony was only available from January. I think this guy's maybe got more star quality than Worcester, but Worcester has actually probably been more consistent across the season. But Brian Mboma, I think it's at least 11 goals and assists every Premier League season. I think he's really consistent there.
You're right about their injury record as well. Lots made of like Tottenham, Chelsea, Man United, Newcastle's record, but I think Brentford have actually had the most amount of players unavailable across the season. They've had so many injuries, but you've both gone with Visser.
Wissa, I just think, is the unsung hero of the season almost. When Ivan Toney got his ban earlier in the season, he stepped up. When Mbembo got injured and when AFCON as well, he stepped up. And I feel like every time he's been kind of called upon, he's shown it. And even the other week, he was fuming that he got subbed off after getting a brace. And, you know, you almost feel a little bit gutted for him because he's always been kind of there for Brentford this season. So tip of the hat to him.
I think the fact that he's Brentford's top scorer this season, Visser with 10 goals, most shots on target, successful dribbles, fouls won, and touches in the opposition box, most sprints. The stats do edge towards Visser. So I think
2-1.
If you're happy to concede, let's go with Visser as we move on to Brighton and a player that I've been singing this man's praises.
So good, isn't he?
I think since we started this show.
Unanimous. I love this. I love
Such a top player, Pascal. For me, I think he's one of the most underrated players in the league because he does so much in the game, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's absolutely brilliant. I think Brighton, for the first time in a while, maybe got their summer business slightly wrong. You know, McAllister and Caicedo leaving. They tried to replace them with Dahoud, with Milner. Dahoud had to go in January. He wasn't really getting a look in. Balaba's come in. He's more of a project player. So it's really been left to Gross and Gilmour in the middle of the park to keep them on track. And I think it's 4 goals, 10 assists. I think only Ollie Watkins has more assists in the league. Technically, this guy is a bit of a throwback, like not the quickest, not the most physical, but on the ball he's sensational. I'd love him to go to the Euros with Germany as well because he's started to break into that squad. Yeah,
I think since the start of last season, there's only like 2 players in the league that have created more chances than Pascal.
92 chances.
And Brighton haven't even been that great recently, have they?
The ultimate Swiss Army knife. I know he's German, but you just right back, left back, centre mid, defensive mid, right wing. He can play a role.
Oh, he does a lot. I see what you mean.
He does. I
didn't know where you were going with that.
He does a little bit of everything.
He's not Swiss, mate. Football expert over here.
Stick him on, I see what you said. He does do a lot of everything. You're absolutely right. Next up, we're going to go down Burnley. This is a tricky one. Let's have a look at... So we've got Josh Brownhill, Lyle Foster... And Jack, you got Sander Berge.
Yeah, so what I did for this, knowing I was coming on, I spent hours and hours watching all the Burnley games this season from start to finish, writing down all the stats, looking at the heat maps. I didn't. I actually just DM'd Vizza on Twitter, who's a big Burnley fan, and he said, put him down.
Get him up then.
So I put him down.
I mean, yeah, because Lyle Foster's missed parts of the season.
I feel like they've missed him in those parts of the season. And when he has been, he's actually him and Odobert, I feel like, have been the real outlets for them. And then Amdouni kind of over the last couple of weeks. But I really think he's been kind of their force up front.
I found it really difficult. I thought it was the hardest club to do almost. I think Josh Brownhill, he's been there in the middle of the park. I think that's all you can kind of say. I think he's had a slightly better season than Sander Berge, but I'll take Visser's recommendation on that. I think Assignon as well, since he's joined in January, has made a little bit of a difference as well. But Burnley was really difficult to find a standout player.
Yeah. Most interceptions for Burnley in the Premier League this season, 4 goals as well. The fact that you sort of side before your argument.
Yeah, let's go with Sander, shall we? Let's go with Sander. Let's get him out. This is the Burnley fan in the room, I reckon.
Now,
Via.
Yeah. The next one, I think, probably the biggest tap-in of any club on the board. I'd be amazed if you're not in full agreement. Yeah. It is Cole Palmer. Jack, what biggest breakthrough of the season? I mean, what level are we talking about with Cole Palmer?
He's
phenomenal.
Unreal. I hate to just keep bringing it back to West Ham, but...
You're going to?
Yeah, I am. There were rumours at the start of the season that West Ham were in for him. No chance. I don't even think he'll be at Chelsea that long.
Do you not?
I think he could go to any club in the world.
He's got about a 100-year contract, though, hasn't he?
Yes, everyone has at Chelsea, haven't they? But no, he's just... What can I say about him that's not already been said? He's an absolute baller, and he needs to be in the England team, let alone squad.
Would he start for you in the England team?
I don't know how, but that's not my problem. Gareth Southgate needs to work that out, but you need to get him in there. He's phenomenal, world class.
It's mad that he wasn't actually like Chelsea's first choice in that position, was it?
Yeah.
Of course, that move for Michael Elise was kind of in the works, and then that didn't happen. So then they kind of almost turned.
It's all been a surprise. I mean, even his whole career. Last season, I think he was a bit part player coming in for City. Started the season, scored a couple of goals in the Super Cup warm-ups, but I don't think anyone, even the most diehard Chelsea fans, saw this kind of trajectory. And you have to respect the mentality. I think the way he's been able to come into a club that's going through a transition period with a bunch of young players who could step up, but he's been the one to really grab it by the horns and say, do you know what, I'm going to make this team my own. And Chelsea's now Cole Palmer's team.
Do you know what's interesting as well about players that win the Player of the Season award? Synonymous. For so many years, it's a team that wins the league and then a player gets that. You've got a lot of players here, like we mentioned, Ollie Watkins, Cole Palmer. Considering Chelsea's season, and all Chelsea fans admit it's been nowhere near the level they expected, surely he's in conversation for
Player of the Season. I think it would be a travesty if he's not nominated. Amongst the 6 nominees, I think it is difficult if you're not in the top 4 push at the very least. But, yeah, I think it's 20 goals, 9 assists, big goals as well. I think he scored against Arsenal, Spurs, Man City, scored 4 goals in 2 games against United, scored 4 goals in 1 game against Everton. And people always talk about penalties. He's scored more non-penalty goals than Saka, who is a great player in his own right as well. So I think phenomenal.
Stick him out then.
Stick him up.
And the penalties that he have scored have been, like, pressure penalties.
Yeah, they have. Good point. Yeah, good point.
Crystal Palace.
Yeah.
Difficult, this one.
Eze, Mateta,
and Eze.
I like this debate.
Mateta recently, since Glasner has come in, what is it, 18-10, absolutely on fire.
Yeah, he's one that I'm looking at in terms of the firepower, what he's been able to bring. I feel like Eze's had injuries this season, similar like Elise. It's a case, can you rely on him all season? I think the forward line has really been an issue for Palace for a number of years, with Jordan Ayew, Odsonne Edouard. No one's really been able to fill the boots. I feel like this season he's come in and almost like an underdog story, if you like. I think he was there last year, didn't really turn up, but this season he's really got his shooting boots on, and credit to Glasner, he's been able to get the best out of him. But
yeah, 5 in 35 goals under Hodgson, 6 in 44 under Vieira, 8 in 10 under Glasner, so he's really found his form. But you've both gone with Eze.
Yeah, I went with Eze. I think Mateta maybe had a slower start to the year. Eze, I think, Fuad's right to point out, I think he's missed 11 games this year. He'll be disappointed with that, but, nothing he can do about that at the same time. I think now he's 26. It's really time to really start stepping up in his career, and I think he should be pushing for a move this summer. Palace fans won't thank me for saying that, but his quality is frightening. Yeah. I think 8 goals and 3 assists this year, some really high-quality goals as well. I think he's got a brilliant, brilliant future.
2-1.
2v1.
Shout out Adam Wharton as well.
Yeah,
we always shout him out, even though he came in January.
Both massive fans of his.
Contender. Everton.
I think you've got 3 different picks. Tarkowski, Branthwaite and Jordan Pickford.
Do you know what, though? I hear it for all 3. Yeah. And I think that's a credit to Sean Dyche for how he's improved that defence. Was it second best record to Arsenal? I think 12 clean sheets this season.
Yeah.
I think all 3 of these have had a massive part to play. I think Branthwaite, for me, it's just the way he's broken out. I think
I'd agree.
Very young player, I think, should get into the England team, in my opinion. But definitely touted for a big move in the summer as well. And I think when you look at the raw ability, the hunger that this kid plays with, the aggression he plays with, very old-school type centre-back mixed with the new breed. I'm a big fan of his.
Yeah. Pickford for you. Why Pickford?
I think I think I saw a tweet the other day that said whether you rate Pickford or not is the true football litmus test, and I think that's so accurate. I think it's so easy to like, oh, he's got little arms or whatever, or try and mug him off. He's just a brilliant goalkeeper. He really is. I think he's still in the running for Golden Glove or something.
He was, prior to Raya's.
Right. Yeah.
Last night, basically, because of the
12 Premier League clean sheets, they right. So, yeah.
I think he's phenomenal. He gets a lot of stick online, but he's just a quality keeper.
You going with the skipper?
Yeah, I mean, I'd be happy with those guys as well. I think Branthwaite's maybe had difficult moments in big games. I remember that moment against Haaland. I think he got sort of turned inside out by Isak as well. Feels harsh, pointing that out. But maybe Tarkowski's not had those difficult moments. I think he leads Everton for interceptions, blocks, clearances, wins more aerial duels than Branthwaite as well. Hasn't missed a game for Everton since joining them from Burnley. I think he's one of the most underrated players in the Premier League. I'm not saying he's going to get a top six move, but for a club like Everton, he's absolutely perfect.
I think all are good shouts. I think personally, because of the breakthrough,
let's go Branthwaite. We're going to have to pick up the pace a little bit.
Yeah, pick up the pace a bit. We'll do Fulham a little bit quicker. So you've got
Robinson. You've got the wrong magnet.
You've got the wrong magnet.
Yeah, someone's giving me Rodrigo.
When you wanted to have
Palhinha.
Oh, so that's 2 Anthony Robinsons to a Palhinha, though. Yeah, take the magnet away. Put the magnet away. Let's talk about Anthony.
Jarrod Palhinha, we talked about him for Liverpool earlier. He's obviously had a great year, but if we're talking about breakthroughs, I think this is the first year people have really realised how special Anthony Robinson is. He's like the focal point of that team, most passes in that team, second most defensive actions. I think he's a really, really special player. Second for assists as well in that team as well.
Most interceptions in the Premier League this season, by the way. Stick him up. Liverpool, interesting one, this. 3 different names. Jack's got Trent, Alexis, and you've gone with Virgil van Dijk. Trent, for you, Jack?
Yeah, to be honest, it's probably more for one of you boys to take this. I've not seen too much of Liverpool this season, so I'm not too clued up on it, really. So I'm happy to concede to one of these.
I think for here, you're looking at the signing of the season, in my opinion.
Ooh.
I think...
Over Palmer?
I think... over Palmer, in my opinion.
What? Wow. What? Alexis McAllister's impact for Liverpool has been bigger than Cole Palmer to Chelsea.
I think Palmer's has been incredible, but what Palmer's is you're looking at the numbers and what he's putting down. But I think you got to remember that he was asked to do the number 6 role earlier in the season, how he adapted to that. Then it was the number 8 role. Szoboszlai has completely fallen off the radar, and the way he's been carrying the midfield, in my opinion, I think one of the 35 million. That is incredible for me.
Virgil?
I think he's been brilliant as well, but I think we've had Salah seasons in the past, I think we've had Alisson seasons in the past, I think this has been Van Dijk's year. Completely new midfield in front of him, new goalkeeper behind him, injuries across the back line, he's been an ever-present. I think he's just been exceptional, along with Saliba and Gabriel, probably the outstanding centre-back in the league.
Yeah, I think Virgil
for me, yeah. I think, as you say, I think he's probably been the best centre-back in the league.
I think Trent, if he hadn't have picked up the injury when he did, I think he would have been in legit contention for winning the overall award. He was having the most remarkable season.
But I think for the season overall, Virgil takes it. Let's go to Luton then, because this is a good debate, actually, and 2 good shouts, actually. I think Alfie Doughty absolutely won, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Left foot. And Ross Barkley's a good shout as well.
Well, I think he's been one of the signings of the season.
Yeah.
Talk about Macca, but...
100%. And I mean, if we were sat here even a season ago, like so people are saying he's in contention for a sniff at the England squad again.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And you would have laughed at that idea a season ago.
Yeah.
I think he's just been immense in that midfield for Luton.
Yeah, I think, this is going to be an uphill battle to battle against Barkley, I think.
Well, I think Alfie Doughty deserves respect. I mean, he was playing in the National League 4 years ago.
Yeah, good point.
Amazing turnaround. I think for a side that's built around delivery from wide and set pieces, I think Alfie Doughty, I don't think they'd even been... it's going to be difficult to stay out, but I don't think they'd even have a hope without Alfie Doughty. I think he has been that crucial.
Most crosses, second most successful crosses, third most passes in the opposition box in the Premier League this season, 7 Premier League assists, created 39 chances from set pieces. The other thing about Alfie Doughty I'd like to mention is whenever I see Luton play, he seems to be so integral to how they play. They were saying at half-time, actually, Gary Neville and Jamie Carragher were saying, just get the ball in the box. That's no disrespect to them, but when he's down that side and they're whipping balls in, you saw how that's how they scored last night. He's so key to how they play.
Do you know, it reminds me of Leighton Baines at Wigan.
OK.
It's a bit of a throwback. It's a bit of a throwback shout, but Leighton Baines at Wigan, I remember, was similar.
Well, it's 2-1.
Yeah. I'm disappointed, but...
Yeah, I mean, I think Ross Barkley's a really good shout.
Would have been Barkley for me.
But it is 2-1. Move on to Manchester
City.
Manchester City.
Rodri, Foden. Wow. 2 Rodris for Foden.
I'm happy.
2 Rodris for Foden.
Happy for Foden as well. I just think Rodri hasn't lost a game in 90 minutes this season. He hasn't lost in the league
incredible
since last February. You know, I think it's 13 goals and assists this year. That's only topped by 3 players in the City side. Most long passes completed in Europe for outfield players in a side that dominate possession with short passes. He can do it all. Most passes completed in Europe. If you take Rodri out of that side, City, they're not average, but they really struggle without him. You know, all the defeats this season coming without him. The title wouldn't be a discussion if he hadn't been suspended for those games.
You think it would have been done?
It would have been done.
Yeah.
And the worst thing is they lost Gundogan in the summer and they tried to replace him with Mateus Nunes and Kovacic, who haven't really worked out. I feel like he's picked up the mantle of that workload and essentially been doing 2 people's job, in my opinion. But different player.
That stat is crazy, actually. Every time Rodri's not played,
69 games unbeaten now,
in all comps as well. Don't forget.
I mean, they did lose with him on the pitch against Real Madrid, but it was penalties.
Technically, not in 90 minutes. But Phil Foden, obviously, Football Writers Player of the year. But he's been one of the best players in the league, isn't he?
Yeah, I thought this was a tap-in. For me, the best player in the league this season. I was going to suggest maybe if we win the Euros, Ballon d'Or over here. So, yeah, Rodri's obviously an animal, isn't he? But do you know, I'm shocked. I thought it was going to be a clean sweep for Foden.
I can't lie, because I love Foden, but I just feel like he is so key to Man City, whereas I feel like maybe they could get by without Foden.
He has been immense.
Yeah, but this majority rules.
Yeah, wow.
Okay. So it's going to go to Rodri.
Sorry, Phil, I tried.
Right, Manchester United now.
And this one I'm furious about.
Sorry.
Liam. I'm blaming Liam, honestly. You wanted... Who did you want?
I wanted Dallo.
And I'm a Man United fan. I would have agreed with you.
So Liam works on our team and he's printed the wrong magnet, but Joe's obviously ousted him publicly there.
Get rid of your magnet guy.
Don't even know if it was Liam. Let's just go out there.
It was Liam, apparently. So you wanted Dallo?
I wanted Dallo.
Why Dallo?
I think Dallo has just been a model of consistency when you look at him. I think he's played right back, he's played left back. I think in terms of the player that United signed, it was a young, raw player. And now, this season, I feel like you've finally seen that player that they've been looking for. That Jose spoke so highly of all those years back. But I just think he's just been a model of consistency, has barely put a foot wrong this season.
I think it's a good shout. So you've gone with Harry Maguire.
Yeah, I mean, like... we're coming off the back of probably the worst any footballer's got it online in terms of like the trolling and the abuse and stuff like that. He was obviously dropped from the team for a bit, but they still have to go back to him. They still rely on him. I think he's had 2 goals, 2 assists, which is the most I think he's had for Man United, there or thereabouts. So a good season for Maguire off the back of all of that stuff online. Yeah, so I think it shows the mettle of the man.
I agree with that, actually. He does get it very harsh compared to any other player. And 56% win ratio when he's starting, 38% win ratio when he doesn't. And he also won Premier League Player of the Month award as well, people forget. So
exactly.
Credit to what he's done. I don't think that's a bad shout at all. But you've gone Bruno.
Yeah, I was tempted with Garnacho as well. I think Garnacho's been brilliant. But Bruno, I think it's 17 league goals and assists, the most in the squad. He's still only ever missed 1 game with injury for Man United.
Playing with a broken arm.
He's the most chances in the entirety of Europe. I see people online being like, they need to get rid of Bruno. Bruno is the last person I get rid of at Man United. I think he is pretty much irreplaceable for that side. The energy, yes, he's maybe struggled a little bit in bigger games at different points, but serve United. I think he takes so much unnecessary...
Should have been Dallo, but it's Bruno.
OK.
Yeah, well, we haven't got a Dallo magnet, have we? So,
you want to mention Liam again? Sorry, Liam. Newcastle, leave him alone. Next up, Newcastle, we've gone with. Oh, good debate this as well.
Fairs. I think Isaac, for me, is just a special player. Possibly, maybe availability is the only area where you question, but I think in terms of finishing, he's probably the only one that could match Haaland, in my opinion. And
brilliant.
You look at the numbers he's put up this season, even with the injuries. For me, this guy is a scary player. And
23 goals. Yeah.
What he's able to bring to Newcastle, I just feel like they go up a level immediately.
19 Premier League goals.
Though.
Yeah, I thought Anthony Gordon's a little bit of a personal one because I was kind of questioning the signing this time last year after his first 6 months at Newcastle. And look, I think Harvey Barnes' injury maybe helped him a little bit at the start of this season. He came back from England under 21 duty, been player of the tournament there, and 10 goals, 9 assists. I think that's only 1 fewer goal contribution than Alexander Isak. And he's scored against every Big Six side. He's really led the way, and I think he's probably been the best left winger in the league this year. I think he's been brilliant, and given how difficult his first 6 months were, and really, people were doubting whether he was going to ever live up to that potential that he'd shown at Everton. I think amazing turnaround.
And they were laughing at the price tag quite a bit as well, weren't they? No one's laughing now. He's been absolutely phenomenal. I love watching him, but he's a rat of a player, and I mean that in a good way. Like when he plays against your team, he's a rat, and he's destroyed West Ham a couple of times this season.
Stick him up, 2v1. Right, let's go on to Nottingham Forest. I think there's total agreement.
Not much to
Morgan
here.
Gibbs White, Jack.
Yeah, I've got not much to say about Morgan Gibbs-White, but he's a very handsome man, isn't he? So is that the kind of...
I think the thing you can say about Gibbs-White
It's not wrong.
Every Big Six club would love to have him.
Yeah.
That's the way you can look at it, and it's partly the reason why I'm thinking.
There was some rumours
Forest, if they go down, maybe I wouldn't mind.
Yeah.
Honestly, at Spurs, he would fit in like a shoe.
Yeah.
I think he'd be perfect, but
West Ham?
always a model. Good work. Good work. But I always think leads by example and always is their creative linchpin, in my opinion.
Stick him up, tap him for Nottingham Forest then.
I also just want to shout out Murillo. I think he's had an outstanding season for a 21-year-old arriving in the league.
Yeah.
Oh, this one was tough.
Tough, Sheffield United.
Yeah. Oh, 3 dips. Got Ben Burton, Diaz,
She's coming with January arrivals.
Yeah.
I mean, Burton Diaz collected twice.
Season up until January. Yeah, I think he's kind of given them hope this year.
Yeah.
I think he's only scored 1 fewer goal than their top scorer, McBurney. Only arrived in January. Look, it was really difficult. I think Harmer's had a good campaign as well, but it was slim pickings.
Yeah, 5 goals, 1 assist, and 11 Premier League appearances. Diaz probably
2 to 1. Let's get Diaz up.
Yeah. Right, let's go to Tottenham next and see who you've got for Spurs. Christian Romero, Mickey van der Ven.
Wow. Because I would have instinctively gone with Van der Ven.
Do you know what? And I have to say, I would have gone Van der Ven. I asked a lot of my Spurs mates who are season ticket holders, and they vote for players, and they've all voted for Mickey van der Ven. So, as a Spurs fan, how come Romero for you?
For me, I think when you look at the back line, he's the one that hasn't changed. Porro, Udogie, Van der Ven, they're all newbies coming in. He's the one that almost has the constant. And I feel like this season we've all seen the others either out with suspensions or injuries. He's again been the constant. Also, the improvements we've seen in his discipline. He was always someone who was always cautious. You know, you were thinking is likely to get sent off. This season, he's actually been a calm head at the back, and I think leadership-wise is where I've seen him step up the most. I think he scored 4 or 5 goals this season in the Premier League as well. So he's contributing in the other box, which I always say you want from your centre-backs to be a threat. But I think
the breakthrough of Mickey this season,
I think it's because of that. It's almost like I was saying with the new shiny toy syndrome, and I think he's had injuries as well where he's missed a key part for me. And I think the way he plays, I think when everybody sees that speed, they're like, wow,
I don't think Spurs have kept a clean sheet without Romero in like the last 15.
Yeah,
he goes back to 2022.
He is the bedrock and the foundation it's built upon, but that's the perfect yin to his yang.
All right, OK, well, it is 2 to 1, so stick him up. Yeah, I think it's tight.
And I saw him, he went to the darts, so that's why I checked.
Jack, we're coming to you next. West Ham, you know all the players, you're mates with them all, you're a fan. Who have you gone with?
Jarrod Bowen, I think.
Easy?
The numbers. I think he's the first West Ham player to score 20 Premier League goals in a season since the Canio, which is just unreal. I mean, he scored that goal in the final last year as well, which I can't forget. I know we're talking Premier League, but still. And
top player.
Are we forgetting that he's got 2 little babies at home and he's still posting 8 out of 10s every single week? So, phenomenal player. Honourable mention to Emerson. I think he's such an underrated left-back. And Paqueta's obviously a baller, but it's Jarrod Bowen for me.
Easy one for you, Dukes?
Yeah, I think so. I think he had a dip last year, by his own admission, but he's really back to his best this year. And actually, I think I saw an interview on Sky a couple of months ago, and he was saying how fatherhood had really grounded him. He feels like a much more well-rounded, more mature person.
Let's get him up then. Let's get him up and finish off with, finally, I think, a total agreement.
Total agreement with Wolves. Dougie, just explain why you've gone for Matheus Cunha.
Yeah, I think he was under a little bit of pressure this year because last year hadn't gone perfectly. They had to sign him permanently because they had that obligation to buy, and he's returned with, 11 goals, 7 assists, I think. I think an amazing turnaround. And as I say, huge turnover at Wolves this year. You know, Neves, Moutinho, Jimenez, Traore, Collins, players like that, Cody as well, leaving permanently. So he was under pressure to perform, and he's really stepped up. OK, total agreement. Let's stick him up. I want to shout out Nori as well. I think he's had a really good season. There is confirmation of every club's best Premier League player of the season. Let us know what you think of that at home.